Francisco 49 is deep in the heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, D. Clark. Garrison Hurst, stiff farm going 99.
This is the 49er Faithful UK show, and it's the full season review show. Cannot wait to get this one done because 2024 is finished at last and we can see the back of it. So we are going to break down what went wrong and hopefully find some small positives that mean it isn't all bad. I'm Gareth Ellis and I am joined by Lee Gowland.
Okay, the new fellas.
Oh no, don't go there. Paul Hope.
What's up, Faithful?
And Naji Karar.
Hello, everyone.
So Naji, you have a new guest in the house, a new lodger that
indeed.
might well be distracting you throughout the entire show.
Yes, 100%. He's 8 weeks old. He's actually just gone down, so I'm not going to pick him up. But let's do the old... Where is he? Oh, this is difficult. There's a new puppy. Hello,
Hey.
mate. There we go. Yeah, I'm just going to let him... First day here, so... Staying with
In
me.
which case we chill, but we'll let you off if you get distracted and have to vanish. So,
Yes.
good to see you, lads. It's the first time all four of us have been on for it seems like a while, doesn't it? Did you enjoy the Super Bowl? Those guys who haven't had a chance to talk about it.
I haven't watched
I enjoyed the result. Actually, no, I enjoyed the game. I did. I enjoyed the game. I enjoyed the whole experience. The meetup down in Liverpool was great. Yeah.
Good. Always good to get the faithful together.
Yeah. And I showered thoroughly the day after cheering for the Eagles.
I thought it meant
Yeah.
you were just covered in fireball.
it. Yeah, that's what I was doing.
Well, to be honest, I was covered in fireball. My hands were really sticky all night long after doing all those fireballs.
Yeah, are you sure it was Fireball and not Martins?
Yeah, I'm sure it was fireball.
Okay.
I tell you what, the guy that ran the bar, he was quite accommodating. I mean, I went up and I said, look, I emailed you. I asked you if you had any fireball. You said you don't stock it. One of the guys has bought it for me as a present. Do you mind if I get some of those little plastic shot glasses you've got and just dish it out at the end of the game? He says, yeah, go for it, mate.
Oh, well.
They even brought all the glasses over.
That's kind of
So-
good.
That was good. That was
That's good.
Yeah, for those people who didn't catch the live, me and Gareth did segue with how many fireballs does one man really need? And there's the photo, Lee. So there you are with the pride for those people who were listening.
49 would be the
Yeah.
number, right?
So I counted those, I think, 4 or 5 times, and I still got the wrong number. And to be honest, I didn't particularly think I'd had that much to drink. I still don't, although judging by how I felt half one Monday afternoon, I probably did. And what I'm going to say next kind of tells us I did. So what you can see that's left in the bottle there, that's after I'd done a shot for everyone. The rest of that bottle, me and Andrew Hodgson drank that.
I like that you've learnt from experience, as Gareth knows, with the tray. I've noticed the trays on the table, unlike in
Nobody's touching the
Edinburgh,
tray.
where we
Yeah.
had an accident. But I'm glad you had a good night, Lee. It
Yeah,
looked
it
good
was
on the
great
photos,
night.
that
And it was
good.
great company as well. And to be honest, the venue was excellent. We were playing darts, we were playing shuffleboard, we were playing 10-pin bowling, pool, basketball. It was good. The food was reasonable. I know a few people didn't like the food that much, but the beer was good. The screens were good. They give us our own area down one side of the bar. And like I said, I mean, the shuffleboard you would normally pay for, but they give us 2 of the shuffleboard boards free of charge all night long. And that was for our group and our group only. So it was interesting because nobody had a Scooby-Doo how to play, yet we were all playing it all night long. And I think we kind of made up our
Well, you're
own
playing
rules.
something.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, at the start of the night, I don't know if you've ever played shuffleboard, but apparently you're supposed to both do it from the same end. So it's a little bit like curling.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, we started off one at each end because we didn't have a clue what we were doing.
See what happens, Naji, when we're not there to supervise. Uncultured. Come on, Lee.
Oh, no. Yeah, it's basically curling with tiny little...
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. It's a good game.
Did you get to enjoy the Super Bowl, Naji, or did you not bother to stay up like me?
I couldn't because I was working very early Monday, so didn't really want to either.
Yeah.
Not being able to make the meetup as well. Just kind of caught up on the score in the morning and couldn't quite believe my eyes, and then watched the highlights, I think. And yeah, I'm quite happy with the result. It's kind of nice to see the Chiefs quieted down for a bit. It's just a shame it had to be the Eagles to do it. But yeah, whatever. It's a nice little cap on the end of the season. It's no Super Bowl I remember, that's for sure.
No.
But, yeah.
But anyway, speaking of Super Bowls, winning one does start in the off season, and clearly ours wasn't good enough. So let's start there. Between the disappointment of last year's Super Bowl and perhaps about the draft, maybe through free agency and the draft, did you feel that we really set ourselves up to come back to the big game when we clearly didn't? Paul?
I mean, there's a fine line between reasons and excuses. We're known on this show for being very positive and upbeat, but I think we all agree the off-season with the contract talks, the preparation, the kind of promoting coordinators in-house. I don't think there's one particular reason that I can say, right, this is what prevented us from reaching our goal.
List them.
but I think it's fair to say that the off-season wasn't great preparation, and the content creators that I follow that were there at training camp, they were sharing stuff that was sharing the same concerns that we were voicing privately, but publicly we were trying to be upbeat and be like, it's going to be 20-0, we're winning the Super Bowl. But I think when you take the emotion out of it, which is what I feel we do quite well, especially preparing for tonight, I've gone back and watched it, Gareth, and I thought, yeah, actually, when you think back to day one, it wasn't ideal. Is that fair to say, Najee, or am I just being a bit doom and gloom at this stage?
No, it is fair to say, especially that it wasn't the first time we went through the exact same thing, because Bosa was a bit long-winded. Debo was a bit long-winded. And Warner was a little bit longer than we would wanted, and even the first Kittle extension didn't come up straight away. And so, although we obviously had successful season despite all this previous years, I think this is the first time it actually had more of an impact for some reason. It did feel different too, despite being the same situation. And I think maybe that's why they didn't recognize that, there is a holdout, not really, but and a negotiation that's not going exactly the way you want it. And they thought it'll be just like Debo and it'll get resolved. And it just didn't quite feel the same, did it? There was, and I think it was kind of ominous in the end. Ayuk, injury aside, obviously that's completely unrelated, and it doesn't mean, but he wasn't balling at all, despite being our best receiver the previous year. He came in and he was just nowhere near how good he should have been, and I hope that they've learned a lot from this, and that we're not going to see a repeat ever again. If you want to sign the guy, then sign the guy. If you're not quite sure, then maybe that's a way where you can ship him out, get something in return. Especially at the draft and when we picked Ricky Pearsall. I think that it kind of all helped into the confusion and the weird vibe that the whole Ayuk extension was. So yeah, I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? Because insight is 2020, isn't it? It's so easy to sit here and analyze it. In a moment, I was like, yeah, it's going to get done. It doesn't really matter. But now you look back and you're like, well, either it should have not been done and it was forced, or they should have done it a lot earlier and not draft Ricky Pearsall, which, we can talk about later on his involvement in the team and all that. But yeah, I don't know. Definitely a misstep, which kind of led us into the downward spiral that was the season. I think
the Super Bowl hangover as well.
Yeah,
I mean, we talk about, if you think back, soon as the Super Bowl finished, I think out of the four of us, I was the only one that kind of continued on. I didn't take a break emotionally. I didn't feel I recovered. So you think, if you look at the team, like the Super Bowl loss, then bang, you're straight back into kind of preparing to climb the mountaintop again. We didn't get first choice of the coaching hires. We kind of, the treadmill didn't stop. You were on that hamster wheel. And I think, like you said there, Najee, the fact that they drafted Pearsall, and none of us saw that. We all had other needs. And it just kind of felt like a comedy of errors that we kind of didn't want to acknowledge, but when you look back now, it just wasn't great preparation, was it?
Yeah.
It wasn't. Lee?
Yeah, I think Paul nailed it there. We all knew as soon as Sorensen was hired, we all had this feeling, which we didn't air live. We did air in private. And he just didn't come across as the type of coach that would get our defence firing on all cylinders. So straight away we were on the back foot. So that didn't really start off very well. You look at who we brought in during free agency and the draft, and you're looking for home run hitters. You're looking for ideal. I mean, to be honest, the draft was a very good draft. Let's put it that way. But free agency, you're looking to do a little bit better than what we did do. Obviously, Schneider's been here for 3 years, or was here for 3 years because he's gone now. Which incidentally, he's just been picked up as assistant special teams coordinator for Washington. But yeah, Schneider, we always knew special teams was poor. They didn't do anything. That was a little bit of a worry. And the fact that obviously we got the Super Bowl, so we got the last pickings of defensive coordinators, and obviously there was nobody left. So he went with Sorensen. And yeah, from pretty much day one of Sorensen being appointed, I thought, you know what, this is going to be an uphill struggle.
I think there was issues with the defense that start, perhaps with Sorensen, but I don't think he was the only issue. I think obviously the way we lost Greenlaw compounded, losing a Super Bowl was bad enough, but I think to lose Greenlaw that day as well, and also we knew that Wilkes was going to be fired, because I think the rumours we'd heard about Shanahan having to take charge of the defense during the playoffs because Wilkes just wasn't cutting it. I think there was a big upheaval there, and then we knew Greenlaw would be back, but I think an odd move was the fact that we let Armstead go at that time, where you felt kind of perhaps we need some of this leadership. We asked him to take a huge pay cut, and to be honest, most of the time you're asking someone to take a pay cut, you're expecting them to go. I think that turned out to be perhaps a bigger loss than we expected, and I think that it didn't set the defense up at all to have a successful season. And yet, Sorensen's got to carry a lot of that. But the Ayuk holdout meant we weren't really that active in free agency. Look at what the Eagles did. They went out and got Saquon Barkley. They had a bad season. They fixed it. They went out and they spent money. Even the Ravens, they went out and got Derrick Henry. They went out and they got premium guys and paid them. We seemed to shop around in the mid tiers area rather than going out and making that splash in free agency. And I think part of that was obviously we didn't know what we're going to have to pay for Ayuk, so it does matter. It does matter for free agency. But we had so much cap space left. Looking back this season, we were supposed to be all in. We just made it to the big game. Purdy's on a rookie contract. You go all in. Yet we had this massive amount of cap space and didn't do anything in free agency. That's not the actions of a team that's all in. And I know we kind of said that, but we got to have an eye on the future. You can't do both. You're either all in, or you've got an eye on, or you've got your eyes on the future. And we got stuck in the middle there. I think we fell down a crack.
Do you not think that the organisation already knew at that point about McCaffrey?
There's that
how
too.
serious his injury was.
There is that too,
which is why they've made decisions like that.
I don't know, because
but then why would you
extended him, didn't they?
Why would you pay Ayuk, right?
Yeah.
You would just try and get into next year. Good. No, I don't know. I think the Hargrave signing was that last year.
No,
that was the year before. That was the year before. Okay.
Yeah.
But that'll have impacted Najee, because Gareth's talked about the salary cap there. They've just announced it today that the cap's going to fall in the range of 277.5 to 281.5. But this time last year it was 255 million was the cap space. And like you said, Gareth, the elephant in the room was Brock Purdy, and we didn't want to go down the Rams route of mortgage everything for one ring. But like you said, we've kind of done this weird half and half.
Yeah.
Which looking back is a bit strange. Did the Eagles went out, as you said, made a big splash in free agency. And look what got them.
And not the only, they picked up Mickey Becton and turned him from a disappointing tackle into a fantastic guard, and fair play for that. But again, they went out, they saw their problems, and they just went and fixed it and paid the money.
Yeah, but that's again, insight is easy. Like if Barkley had 800 yards and Micah Bateson didn't play well at all, we would be here saying, "Oh, well, look what the Eagles did, and it didn't work." It just the choice they made work out. The ones we didn't. But I still would have preferred taking a risk. Signing Ayuk it's not really a risk, is it? It's just where you're going. Especially the way we did it. If he was decisive, I mean, we're all in. We're signing Ayuk, and we're drafting this new guy, Ricky Pearsall, who's going to be a difference maker as well. It's just like, oh, okay, so we are giving Brock some weapons here, and we're going on in to try and win the game. Now, the CMC injury is definitely something that I would love to ask, or have been a fly on the wall. And when they realized how bad it was and how long it was going to be bad, or was it one of those that just kind of like, hey, it'll be fine, it'll be all right come August, I'm sure this is going to get fixed, and then later on it's like, oh, actually
there was certainly no word about it. I think they thought, okay, any issues, he can take those few months off, rehab, and he'll come back fine. And that's where I think that's where the problems developed, didn't they? Really, that it wasn't that simple as having sort of 3-month break from the rigors of football. Obviously, still training and what have you. Should we look into the draft? I think the free agency was underwhelming. I think at the time we thought that's fine. The only person I think that certainly I can remember that we lost a real import was Armstead. We thought, okay, well we think we can go again, as long as we draft well. And I think we did draft well.
We did.
Lee, the draft?
Yeah, it was a good draft. I mean, Dominic Pooney, the Punisher.
I knew you were going there first.
I was definitely going to start with the most valuable player on the offense. I've got to. Pooney, Ricardo Green, Mustafa. I mean, Purcell did show us what he can do towards the end of the season. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of Jacob Cowan, that's for sure, because I thought he showed flashes. Who else have we got on there? Tatum Bethune. Tatum Bethune. He looks as though he can be a useful player. Who did you say that, Paul?
Nadji's man crush. Come on, Malik.
Oh, Garendo, yeah. Well, I said Mustafa, but Isaac Garendo as well. So, I mean, I think we got really good value from all of our picks this year. Yes, Pearsall didn't play that often, but then again, he was shot in the chest. I mean, that's not a minor thing, So you have to give him his due for coming back, playing the game, and then he did finish strongly. So I was happy with the draft. Hopefully, nobody regresses, because obviously that first season that Spencer Burford had, his rookie season was great. We couldn't believe how well he played, and then ever since then he's been garbage.
Yeah.
So let's hope nobody regresses. But yeah, I mean, I think we've got a good nucleus of young players from this draft, and I think John can be very happy with how that turned out.
It was strange, wasn't it, Lee? Because historically Shanahan doesn't give these rookies as much game time as what we saw this year, and maybe the injuries played.
Yeah, it was much of a choice, really.
But, I mean, I don't know if you mentioned Green. I know he was high on those people who watch college football, and they were excited to see him. And I don't think he disappointed. I think he was a highlight. And I think if he had been in a different draft class, you'd have been raving. The fact that you've mentioned those names you've mentioned, it bodes well for the future. And I think it sets us up nicely for free agency this year, because we've had a look at a few of them, and they're going to play key pieces, I believe. Maybe I'm getting a bit too overexcited.
Green's a little bit like Diomedol and also nobody expected Green to slide that far down into the third round. They all expected him to be like a late first round, top of the second round type player, but he slipped to the third round and we got him. Will Shanahan and Lynch get the kudos for taking him in the third round? Don't know.
Second, I think. It was second round pick, I think.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, second round.
Obviously the pick 31 in the second round, so the very end of the second round.
64, yeah.
It's all right, Lee.
Gareth,
fact checker Ellis will keep you in check.
Yeah, that's fine.
My boy.
Literally the last pick.
The second round then. But they were expecting him being a first round pick. Like Demo. Had Demo not missed COVID year, where he chose to sat out, he was projected to go in the first round. So we picked up a bargain there. So I think next season starting cornerbacks are going to be 2 bargain buys. And people
that'll
talk
free
about
up.
how...
I agree.
Sorry?
I was just going to say, well, that'll free up some money because we don't have to pay Ward. I mean,
Exactly.
That's all I was going to say.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. I mean, it makes it easier. It's like the safeties, and I said this at the end of the season before we played our final game. You look at J.E. Brown and Malik Mustafa. You've potentially got your 2 starting safeties there. We've got our 2 starting cornerbacks there. That's huge.
Yeah,
And
it is huge.
the play to a good level. Yes, Brown dropped off a little bit to what we saw him, but you can see he does have that potential to raise his game as well.
Yeah.
And that could happen next season.
Yeah.
And I think there were issues with the scheme and there were issues with the defensive play calling, weren't they? Which can, well, it can do for anyone, but you can certainly, if it's not quite right, you can end up with your safety just kind of looking lost somewhere on the middle of the field because they're just not where they're supposed to be, particularly a young safety. So,
Yeah.
Other thoughts on the draft? I would say I said it at the time, and I'll still bang on about it. I was disappointed that we picked wide receiver. It's nothing against Ricky Purcell, but again, it seemed very odd that we've always talked about building in the trenches, and we've seen the offensive line has always been in the bargain basement, and then losing Armstead before the draft, I kind of thought, okay, we're probably going to go and refill that, and then when we didn't. I felt that our roster construction was very strange this year with just so much in the wide receiver room. By all means, draft Purcell if you're going to trade Debo or Ayuk away. That made sense. But to draft him and then not do the other part, it always struck me that we've got only one guy can catch the ball. Why have we got this multitude of pass catchers with Jennings, Debo, Ayuk, Purcell, and then you add that to Kittle and McCaffrey and Juszczyk. It just, and we're scraping or getting cheap value elsewhere. It looked exciting, but it also looked a bit boom and bust. And I think you can have all the receivers you like, but if you haven't got a quarterback who's upright, it doesn't matter how good they are. And I think that has been part of the problem. And it's nothing against Purcell, but it is. I thought it was an odd pick for a team that wanted to go in all in this year. It's a great pick, I think, if we were a building team, or we thought, okay, let's not. But then, do you do that on Brock Purdy's last year of his rookie contract? None of it seemed to quite fit together with the rosters that the team has built before. Well, but I could be unfair.
Our good friend John Chapman did a draft guidebook, which I will be getting again this year. And I have to admit, chaps, I didn't focus too much time on the wide receivers. So I didn't stay up for the draft. So when I woke up the next morning, I was like, oh, we've drafted a wide receiver. Flick through this guidebook that John Chapman had beautifully prepared and was like, and did a bit of reading. But obviously, the fact that the Eagles took Cooper DeJean after Purcell, a lot of people, like you said, Najee, in hindsight, wonderful at this time of the year to look back.
Yeah.
But it did seem a luxury pick at the time. And I think that's been highlighted with the way the season's gone. So
it's not luxury; it's also the money. You know, you're putting immediately 10 million into that position group by taking that first round pick. So
yeah, I think you're right. I think the way this team has been built and the reason we have been as successful as we have been, except for the couple of years that injury basically destroyed us, was building in the trenches and starting on the D-line. And as you said, when we lost Armstead, and we tried to keep him, but when we lost him...
You didn't try that hard, though.
We didn't try that hard, that is true. And one may say that after the first season Hargrave had, which wasn't stellar by any means, maybe we should have pushed a lot harder to try and keep him. But it felt like a no-brainer to pick a D tackle wherever we were. I also think there is the other side of the coin that we are a team, people know how good we were and how easy it was for us to get to the Super Bowl you know, how we stroll through the season, destroying pretty much everyone. And playoffs was a bit harder. We didn't play really well. But is anybody going to want to trade with us? That, you know, there's that thing where does anyone want to trade with the Chiefs and let them go down and amass more
The Bills
picks?
do, apparently.
Yeah.
The Bills
but
love giving them great players.
it's one of them thing where, like, did we try to trade down and take something else later, and nobody wanted anything to do with us, and we just had to pick the best player available at this position. Because then if you reach, then it's even worse, because you put yourself, as you say, you put 10 million in that for 4 years, and then you end up with a Javon Kinlaw situation, something that doesn't pan out, or Solomon Thomas situation. But and then you're basically in the same place. At least Purcell is salvageable no matter what happens, right? If you believe in his talent and his ability to play the game. So it's one of them things where you kind of have to weigh not just what you're doing this year, but the next 4+1 year if you pick that up.
Do you think the Debo
we'll
thing,
see,
Nadji, was on their mind? You know, obviously there's a lot of talk that Debo's asked for a trade now and Debo's going to be gone. Do you think this was a move this time last year that the team kind of knew Debo had one more year and they were maybe drafting his replacement, you know, signing a big money deal? That you've just mentioned there about looking ahead, and I know you're a big college guy, so I just thought maybe they were thinking like this time last year.
Yeah. And, you know, it's so easy to look at the draft and we should have drafted Cooper DeJean, but Cooper DeJean had Vic Fangio and a heck of a Z-line and some incredible linebackers in front of him. We'll see what he does next year, right? I'm not saying he's not good, right? Don't get me wrong. I think he is good, but circumstances and players and where they go and how they play and who they play with and how they're surrounded makes a big difference. You know, we passed on Patrick Mahomes like so many other teams. It's one of those things where you can't look at the draft comparing yourself to what other teams have done. I think you just got to be looking at what the pick you did and why you do it in the moment that you do it. And remember, war rooms, you've got 10 minutes, 15 minutes to make a decision. You're passing phone calls. Are you sure you don't want to trade? You sure you don't want to trade? You can't post that many phone calls in 15 minutes when you have to pick that name. If you don't put a name in, you don't get nothing. So you know, it's probably not as easy as it looks. Sat here.
I've seen draft day, Nadji.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Very easy.
Cam's got to go no matter what. But yeah, I still think Purcell is a good pick, especially now that Debo wants to go, and Ayuk's probably not going to be here for the beginning of the season, depending on how his rehab's going. You know, the pick, and if he scores a couple of touchdowns in the first 2 games and wins us a game, we'll be sat doing the review saying best pick ever, right? But at the time, and especially now that it's all in the books, we should have drafted the tackle. It's quite simple, really. But
I do struggle with that pick. It's like your car needs a new tire, so you go to get a new tire, but all the premium ones are gone. And you don't fancy one of the mediocre ones because they're overpriced.
And you buy a new stereo instead.
Yeah. So you buy a new stereo and you feel happy because you're like, I haven't been ripped off on an overpriced tyre and I've got an absolute bargain on this top of the range stereo.
Yeah.
And then you drive down the road and wrap your car around a tree because you've still got a ball tyre. Yeah. And I think that was we've been, 4 years now where we just go, we look really good. Apart from the O-line, we've got those questions. And I thought end of the first round was a good place to pick, but at least we got the Punisher.
Yeah, I was going to say,
as I've said, wouldn't have been a bad pick at the end of the first round given his performance. So,
I've got to thank you for that, Gareth, because you've just named today's episode a car crash of a season.
Well,
I mean, I think we've done that before, the 2020 season.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, but not in that detail, Nadji.
Nah,
Gareth Ellis, that was beautifully put. There you go.
Anything else on the draft? Excited to see some of those guys in the season coming up.
Yeah, one thing I'll say, we've talked about it before. Some of those guys are going to regress. It's just kind of that's what happens.
I've got a feeling we're never going to see Cowing again, having finally
absolutely
got him some catches. And
wouldn't surprise me if Mustafa has half of the season he had this year. if he even plays at all, if we sign Huff and J.R. Brown is better than him in camp, that is totally possible. So let's just wait and see before we start judging how good all of these players are. It's a good start for sure, but 2 or 3 years. 3 years is usually about right to gauge a draft class. So, yeah.
So I think we've covered the draft. Then there was the quiet part of the season. Then there came training camp, and training camp I think was the first inclination that things weren't going well, particularly on the injury front. We ended up cancelling joint practices, which we know Shanahan values. And I remember at that time thinking, this isn't boding well for the season. Anything else you remember from that kind of early part of training camp?
Trent Williams holding out, didn't go down too well, did it?
Of course, yeah. Ayuk was still out.
Yeah, the red shorts and Trent. I mean, clearly Trent Williams is going through things. So again,
we didn't know that at the time. Yeah,
we absolutely did not know that at the time.
None of that was a surprise, because when we signed him, we knew it wasn't a 6-year contract. It was a 3-year contract with a kind of 3-year extension at the end. We knew that would happen. And I don't think any of us had any concerns that he wasn't the kind of professional who would very quickly get back up to game speed. Ayuk's was odd, I think, the hold in. And I think it's a bit... It did seem to be potentially a bit disruptive.
Absolutely. I think it's this new age thing where, I don't know, they think they deserve this amount of money, and they probably do, because that's how much money people are paying to get the services that they offer. So why shouldn't you pay? Why shouldn't you get paid for what you deserve to get, or what everybody else is getting? It could be a short career, as we saw. For you, that kind of injury could be his last game, and putting as much money as possible to one side to care for your family and your entourage. I don't understand. I just hate the way they do it. I just completely hate this social media and putting yourself out there and showing that you're not happy. I think this is just
a bit childish, isn't it?
It's very childish, but they are kids. All these people are 24, 25. When I was 25, I had no idea what I was going to do with my life.
I thought you still were 25, Najee.
The good thing is, Najee, nobody's going to be able to do that this season, because there's that many adverts on social media. That's all you see anywhere.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. But, it's kind of the time we live in where they have this venue to express themselves that I personally don't like and I find toxic. But yeah, it's just it's very childish, but it ultimately is what it is. It's a bunch of businessmen trying to meet the demand of a very young person that hasn't seen much of the world apart from football fields their entire life, and this perception of how much money they should have. And it's a multi-billion-dollar business, so everybody's kind of right without being wrong. It's a mess, and I wish there was a easier way to do it.
Do you think we should have been a bit tougher with him? It did sound like we've always seemed to look after the players. I think we've always been honest and treated the players well, and I think that the players appreciate that. But it does seem there's the news, however true it is. I think the last couple of days I've heard the Chiefs have basically given that Travis Kelce that date, and this is the business time of the year. You've got to play hardball, and I think we indulged his impatience. Perhaps we indulged his whim a bit much, particularly when the story came out that he ended up signing the offer he'd had 3 weeks ago. He just didn't want to sign it, or was still hoping. He wanted to stay, but hoped we were going to pay him more. I don't know. He went down slightly in my estimation, as Debo did. Particularly when Juwan Jennings just signed his money after his great Super Bowl, and just went, "Yeah, I'm happy. Give me whatever he's getting, $8 million a year or whatever it is."
I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Gareth. I mean, I agree with Najee. I think the players do deserve to get paid. But the difference you were talking in what he was holding out for, or holding in for, to what he actually accepted, to me, it's just pure greed. Regardless of how long your career is going to be, it's just pure greed. And I'm like you, Gareth. He went down in my estimations purely for that.
Yeah.
Do you not
It's a shame.
think as well, though, like part of, I say 2 Englishmen, a Welshman and a Frenchman talking about American sport and the athletes and them wanting the money. You surround yourself with good people. I know if I had that kind of decision to make and us four are sat talking, you talk to people. And like you said earlier, you'd be like, what you're talking about the difference between this and that. When you signed the same deal that you had on the table 3 weeks ago and he was flirting with Washington because of Jaden Daniels. But like you said, Adam Peters will have been on the phone to John Lynch. They'll have known what they could do. I think the Steelers were the only one that kind of took the bait on social media. But even then, he didn't want to go there.
Yeah.
Because by the sound of it, I think the team did kind of call his bluff, Gareth, and say, okay. I think it was announced, wasn't it? We've accepted a trade offer from the Steelers. And then I think he thought, oh, hang on a minute. Yeah. Maybe those people have been advising me. And then when it came to it, the Niners stood firm and they didn't offer him any extra money. That was the deal from 3 weeks ago. Yeah. But given the way the chemistry was in the locker room and the fact that the Avengers, as we lovingly nicknamed them, we expected big things from them, but we didn't see them all on the field. And you've played football, Najee. The locker room, the chemistry, it just kind of knocked it all out of kilter, for want of a better word.
Yeah.
Didn't they increase the amount of guaranteed money he got? So they didn't change the actual amount of money, but they increased the guarantee.
Yeah, they fudged the numbers around to make him happy, essentially. But I think that's the whole thing with Gareth is talking about, us taking good care of the players and then the expectation from the rest of the league and how other contracts like Tyreek Hill or Justin Jefferson are gone down. Those players are feeding off a little bit of both, and they think, oh, we get treated quite well here. So no matter what I do, it'll all be fine. But to the point where, when the Niners went like, sorry, this is the deal, they might feel a bit like, oh, okay, so now it's business, is it? It's like all friend and business. It's a very fine line, and it's very difficult to navigate between the two. And that's why there's agent, and that's why there's, again, you're talking about sports people that might not have an understanding of how contract or business works exactly and their expectation. And it's a whole mess it's very complex, the whole situation. It's not just, oh, here's a number signed on the dotted line kind of thing. And I wish it kind of was. I wish it was a little bit simpler than what it is these days. I think it would alleviate a lot of that holding in. I want 1 more million here, 1 more million there, or whatever.
I think people have obviously seen us. We waited, I think, for Bosa, and he got signed at 30th of August or whatever it was. But I think if we're going to pay people that money that season, it's like you've got to be there to be practicing. It's easy to say, but I think this is where we need to be a bit more hardball and say, look, 20th of August or whatever, you're going to have 3 weeks of practice. You sign by then, or we're going to have a trade. So you have a decision to make. You sign the contract, or you're gone, because we need to get on with preparing for the season, not hanging around waiting for you to decide whether you can get over yourself and actually take the money, because it's $30 million.
Yeah,
we're not skimping, mate.
Yeah.
It's funny though, Gareth. There's only 31 other teams. It's not like football.
And there's plenty of wide receivers.
Leagues.
I know,
and as you said, the draft classes, plenty of wide receivers. And as Najee said, that was a good point Najee made. Maybe Ayuk wanted to sign a deal, and it was his agent who has got more qualifiedness to say, hang on, just hold your horses. And then it's kind of like a game of poker. Somebody wants to win. Nobody wants to go first. And then it kind of dragged on. And
yeah, a couple of wide receivers signed money, didn't they, in the off season before them? And I think that bumped, that knocked things, I think, didn't it? I can't remember who they were, but I think there was a couple of big extensions earlier in the season. But they got done early.
Yeah. Well, think back to when Debo signed his deal. His agent was the same as AJ Brown. So it was kind of AJ Brown signed, then Debo signed, and the agent kind of got the double commission, but the deal was pretty much identical. And it is one of the things that I do love, the access we have to American sports. And, Tom Brady, he's gone on record and said when he was negotiating his deal, he rang up the general manager and they said, you're not supposed to ring me. And he's like, you tell me what your bottom number is, what you need for the team, and I'll sign it. Now, obviously, Tom Brady had that power, but it just goes to show sometimes it isn't all about them making as much money as possible. But I haven't any problem with the players getting paid. I just
No.
hope Brock
No.
gets paid and it's done early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll let you into a little secret, Paul, a business secret. If you go to somebody and say, pay me the minimum that you'd like to pay us, they're going to say, okay then.
No, that's what happens.
It's nothing to do with power.
No, but I'm saying that story's been repeated. I think Gronk
Yeah.
and Edelman talk about on
Yeah.
their podcast, and they said the general manager was blown away because he said, Brady actually said that. What's your bottom number? Because my agent's at the top number. I want to know what your bottom number is. And it was when he signed it. Was it the 4-year deal at 50 million? It was like 10 million a year
Yeah.
or something daft like that. But it was just...
It was slightly different. He backed himself that he was going to play into his 40s. He had that whole, health regime, and I think that's what he did. He said, "I'd rather win because I'm going to have a long career. I can earn money
He also
at another point."
he also had a wife that's richer than him, so that helps.
And then he
That
retired,
helps.
spent 3 weeks with the kids, and came back to play again. So, I mean...
But I mean, ultimately, when we come back down to this IU thing, one thing I take from it is I would have loved to have seen the Niners learning how to let go of the players they've groomed, and I think this one was the one. The Debo signing was absolutely right. Obviously, the Warner and the Kittle and the Bosa signing were absolutely the right thing to do, rather than letting those guys go. But I think this was the first chance for the Niners to establish themselves as a good franchise, being able to, yes, draft a good player and utilize that skill set,
contract.
the rookie contract and the skill set to get to where you want to be, but then saying, sorry, that's too expensive for us. We can get somebody that can do what you do, maybe a little bit less good, but for a fraction of the price, and we can get good somewhere else and keep building. And I think the Patriots did that for 20 years really well, and I think the Chiefs did it pretty well ish in a way for the past 5-7 years kind of thing. And I think they missed the boat on that one. As much as I love Ayuk and I really wanted him to stay, I think we should have said, look, sorry. And it puts the message to anybody else that comes after him. It's like, it doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter what season you're having with us.
Yeah.
We're here to win.
And he wanted to stay.
Yeah.
If you want to stay, sign the money.
If winning
and get it done.
means we have to make some hard decisions, we will make those hard decisions. And the franchise hasn't done that. No, not yet. Armstead was not really hard. They kind of went because he wanted to.
To be honest, they should have done that in the 22 draft, Najee, while we were out in Vegas. For me, they should have traded Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, they could have. Yeah, they could have done.
Yeah, because I was clearly looked like he was going to have the breakout season.
Yeah.
But I think
And they've nipped it in the bud as well.
There's leverage, isn't it? Sign this, or you're going to end up playing in Cleveland.
Yeah,
that's
this is
a hell
it.
of a
It's
threat.
just like, you're going to get paid,
So-
but no chance you're getting a trophy anytime soon because you're going to play for the Jaguars or something. Yeah.
So, pre-season, not been so good so far, but that's all right. Everything will be great as soon as week 1
Play the
comes
Jets.
along. So the first part of the season, up to the bye week, we had wins against the Jets, followed by a loss against the Vikings at the meetup, and another loss against the Rams. A win against a rather feeble Patriots team, followed up again by a disappointing loss to the Cardinals. A win against the Seahawks, which put us all in a good mood, and an inevitable loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. But we followed that up with beating Dallas. And then going into the bye week. Memories from the first part of the season? 4-4 we were after week 8.
I think
So I'll be honest, the only thing I remember about the first half of the season was the Vikings loss.
I don't remember a lot, actually.
I think the general consensus back then was that the loss against the Rams was like the last drive. It was a terrible drop by Ronnie Bell, which should have won the game. The loss against the Chiefs was kind of like, it's the Chiefs, whatever. Who did we lose against again? Did you say?
The
Cardinals.
Cardinals
was the
late
same on the
as
last
well.
drive. We kind of dominated the game and then kind of flopped on. And that was a general consensus. It was like, we're there. We can see it. We're almost there. It's going to click in and we're going to be unstoppable. Truth is, we're actually barely hanging on and we actually won against terrible teams. It was kind of we just saw it the wrong way. We should have looked at those Jets and Patriots win and Cowboys win and thinking, those teams are garbage. Yeah, and we are too, and it just happened to be a team worse than us at that time. But yeah, so I think insight again, isn't it?
If you cast your mind back to the start of the season, we said we needed the defense to be top 10 and our offense to fire on all cylinders, and we were all very bullish going into that. But the Patriots game, the Warner pick six, like you said, Najee, it glossed over a lot of cracks. The Jets, we beat the Jets 32-19, first game of the season at Levi's. We did what we were supposed to. We were supposed to win. We were all feeling optimistic. What hangover. And, like we talked about the injuries, in 2023, McCaffrey, Ayuk, Debo, 40 touchdowns in that run to the Super Bowl. This season just gone. They're combined for 4 touchdowns all season. All 4 from Debo Samuel. And like you said, they're going into the bye week. I think the defense was the problem. I think Lee was early on to call for a change at coordinator. A few people laughed, but, we cast your mind back to the Wilkes situation where we wanted him out of the booth on the sideline. I think maybe Shanahan being loyal to his staff came back to bite him on the bum. Yeah, true, but the defense...
That was it.
Yeah. It's rare you fire coordinators or coaches in season, I think, and have a successful season. It has happened, but it's pretty rare.
Can you remember when it happened, Gareth?
Yeah, because you went on about it. I think it was Ravens, wasn't it, 2012?
It was, so, well done. Yeah. I just wanted to check that you do actually listen to us.
I do. Well, not when we're recording, when I listen to the podcast back.
Right.
Did Lee say that? Yeah. What I remember for the first part of the season was constantly, we'll be right when McCaffrey comes back. Because I think we didn't know. And then it's sort of like, well, he's not practicing, but that's all right, it's pre-season. And it's like, oh, he's going to miss week 1. And it's like, well, he's on IR, so he's going to not be back till week 4. And then I remember us just wanting, if we can limp through at 4-4 to the bye week, we start getting the bodies back. And McCaffrey will be back, and the offense everything will be good with the offense once McCaffrey's back, because we've built a game plan to utilise him, and he's not there. And that's what I remember clinging on for the first part of the season, thinking it'll be all right. It will be all right as soon as we've got some bodies back. It wasn't just McCaffrey. I think we were waiting for other people to come back as well, particularly on the defensive line, I think. We were thinking, Huff might have come back. We were thinking, well, Greenlaw's going to be back. But it didn't turn out to be that way. But that's the second half. That's the second half.
4 losses in the first 7 games, and I think we came on every week and we tried to be positive, we tried to be upbeat, because we could see things that were working, we could see a lot that wasn't working, and it's preparing for tonight, chaps. It's been horrible when you go back and watch some of those games, and I've only written down the 6 wins. I haven't even looked at the losses, Gareth, because I thought, right, try and be positive, but it wasn't an easy season.
So I've just remembered one thing about the first half of the season, Gareth.
Go on then.
The Chiefs game was the first dirty points I won on the way to the trophy.
Oh, what trophy?
Which has incidentally been kidnapped by Paul. Yeah. I'm surprised he hasn't got a balaclava on there.
Banging on about last season's trophy. You're living in the past, man.
So to be fair, Gareth, he doesn't want it. I've got proof that I sent him a message to meet up at the weekend and hand it over. But no. And to make matters worse, I was in Darlington on Saturday morning coaching, and Lee was round the corner doing a park run. So if he told me, we could have met up. But he just doesn't want this trophy, everybody. What can I say? I'll just keep it.
Probably still feels too dirty, I think.
Yeah, I think Paul's a kidnapper.
I think what you're trying to say, Lee, is you realise that the dirty points is the wrong way to go. So I like that you've now taken the moral high ground and you've said you refuse the trophy and we'll just have nobody win it this year. Is that right, Najee? Look at his face.
This is great.
It'll come when it's good and ready to come.
It will. You'll have it for 4 years, so
But good memory. I think the Vikings game, obviously because of the meet-up. The meet-up was great. Frank Gore, a packed pub in London, lots of faithful. Not the result that we wanted, but at that time it was kind of. I think that the pattern was there, wasn't it? Suddenly Sam Darnold looked really good and Brock Purdy looked really as though he'd struggled to work out what was happening in that game.
Yeah. So, I know we lost that game. Not just the meet-up though, Najee. the exposure the Niners gave us. We were all over their social media.
Yeah,
The
good
NFL
week.
shouted it out on the broadcast. And I know you don't like social media, Najee, but to get the message
That's
alert
not
on my
bad,
phone,
yeah.
and the NFL's official Twitter account had retweeted that the watch party was going on, and then they said the days afterwards, the footage of Frank Gore with the flag, with his bodyguards, Brett Sinclair, Neil Graham, either side of him. And to be fair to the Niners, Lee, they did ask us to just kind of look after the event, and they didn't shy away from us flying the flag. And Frank himself, I thought, was very gracious. But even though we lost, when I was thinking of a highlight, that has to be up there for me, especially in the first half of the season, Gareth. I mean, you think of where the watch party started, you know, to where they've become, and it's just every year they seem to get bigger and bigger. So
Yeah. Back when the season looked positive, so I think that's probably covered the first part of the season. Sadly, we will have to look at the second part of the season. Back from the bye, we're going to pull this out of the bag. We're going to go on a winning run, and it looked good. We pulled a win we perhaps didn't deserve on the road against the Buccaneers, but then followed that up with the loss against the Seahawks at home, and the loss against Green Bay, and then the blowout loss in the snow against Buffalo. Snuck a win against Chicago, but then again, that's kind of what people do. And then losses to LA on that prime time, the 12-6 game, the Dolphins, the Lions, and still the Cardinals, winning 2 games on the back end of the season. The point that I thought it was gone was when we let the Seahawks come back and beat us. That was the point. We needed to build momentum, and that was the point where I thought this season's gone. Yeah. And it was that sinking feeling that we've let Geno Smith run in a touchdown at home to snatch a game from us. That's when my hope certainly evaporated. I know some of you guys kept the hope up a little bit longer, but that's when I thought, nah. Yeah. Sorry, that's not very cheerful, is it? Come on.
No, I mean, but this is the second half of the season, isn't it? It's when we actually, I think the Buccaneers win was a bit. Did Moody miss a ton of field goals?
Missed 3.
Yeah, right. Okay, so
Debo versus Tabor Pepper.
Oh, that's right. That's the one.
He scored the one that matters, Najee.
He did. He scored the walk-off winner after 3, and that's where I felt really good. And maybe that's why the Seahawks loss just felt like
it was just more ominous signs, wasn't it? That something was actually indeed very wrong, and then sometimes in the NFL. Things just kind of fall apart for your team, and you just kind of scrape a win. And then, I think you're right. That last quarter of the Seahawks, when I think we were all sitting there, knowing exactly what was going to happen, that they were going to drive down, and that they were going to score, and that defense couldn't do anything, and that Fred stopped playing like his all-pro self, and that Sorensen's scheme was clearly hand-shackling almost everyone, apart from Mustafa and Demo. And it's just kind of,
I love that. Apart from them two, my favourites.
I think it's just more.
Pretty much guaranteeing actually. I had no idea what was happening at the Seahawks game. That was the weekend we were up at Brett Sinclair's in Falkirk.
Oh yeah, right. Okay, yeah. Well, I mean,
I was saved that pain.
I think that's a good way of going around it for sure. But I think it's just kind of. We said all the way to this point, this is when we're going to see the defense starting to bloom, and the offense is going to start clicking, and all those pieces. McCaffrey's back. It's all good. It was far worse actually than it was when we looked bad in the first half of the season, and then after that you start losing hope, and you get blown out by the Packers, and you get blown out by the Bills.
Good teams get better as they go into the season. You can struggle early, and figure it out and get better. And we thought we were going to do that, and we had a tough run in, and we came up against teams that had figured it out and got better, like Green Bay, and obviously the Bills gave us a beating on the score. But I remember watching the game thinking, we're a few plays away from this being actually a tight game, and it wasn't. But it was one of those where you just felt, well, nothing is going our way this season. I think that was the game we lost McCaffrey.
Yeah, we did.
Was it? Yeah.
And I think, and you check fumble at the 1 or something.
Oh my
right,
God, yes, I remember that now.
I mean, you talk about the second half of the season, 7 losses in our last 8 games. We only had 1 2-game winning streak last year when I was prepared tonight. That's not a team that's going to go on a run. And like you said, Nadji, that sinking feeling. I remember in the Discord, Geno Smith looked like Russell Wilson, and it gave me the nightmares. And you're right, Gareth. I think that's when the lights went out. I mean, in more ways than one, the candlestick in by the sounds of it, but at least you had alcohol to kind of numb those senses. But yeah, that Buffalo game was hard to watch, wasn't it? And obviously the Josh Allen MVP chance and him diving for that touchdown in the snow, and McCaffrey going out injured, and injuries. We haven't really talked injuries, but that has been a key part.
We were battered. But I also felt that we should still have had enough to be better than we were.
Yeah, I agree. Fully agree.
Yeah. We don't perhaps want to dwell on that too much. There are some positives, and I think some of the positives are player performances. So I think I've probably kept you in suspense for long enough, because I do have the results of the 49er Faithful UK Awards. So I think this is a nice moment to cheer us up and remember that there were some positives and there were a few good performances. So I have the results here. Thanks to Kev Williams once again for setting up the G sheet and producing some nice little pie charts for me, which is quite good. I've got to ask, we'll start with Offensive Player of the Year, and I've got to ask Nadji, did you vote on the awards?
No, I felt like my integrity would have been very questioned if I didn't vote. Or did I vote? I can't remember.
I voted, but there we go. I only asked because in reverse order for Offensive Player of the Year is Jordan Mason in fourth place.
No way. Come on.
With one vote. So if it wasn't you, Nadji, then there we go. That's
I can't remember. Kev, just message me and tell me if I did. I honestly cannot. Maybe I did. I can't remember.
I wondered where you were going with that one, Gareth. I'm not going to lie.
Is that Nadji? Because you made the case for Jordan Mason.
I did make the case.
So I thought, maybe.
No, I didn't. I made the case for Brock Purdy. I think.
Did you?
The case was made by.
Who made the case for Mason?
Mr. Paul Hope.
Anyway.
Wasn't it Paul?
Yeah, it was Paul. It was Paul.
So I got one vote. Thank you, whoever voted.
Maybe that's yours.
Maybe it was me.
So unfortunately, Jordan Mason in fourth place with one vote.
That's crazy.
Followed quite closely in third place by Brock Purdy with a mere 5 votes.
Yeah.
This is out of 79 votes cast across the awards. So 1 and 5 is pretty low. So it's between Mr. Kittle and Mr. Jennings. In second place, it's JJ with 27 votes, which can only mean George Kittle has won it quite handsomely with 46 votes, a 58%, well over half the vote. Wow. I agree with that. I think Kittle, even though I made the case for Jennings, I think Kittle was our standout player. So well done, George.
You know what? Yeah. I've just shown a little bit surprised there. Who wouldn't? Yet I give it away about 3 shows back.
No, that was he won the MVP.
The Discord MVP.
Discord MVP.
That was Discord. So Nadji asked you not to mention the Discord, and the first thing you did within the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, it was the Discord.
It's a double award. It's a double award for George. Well, there we go. That ties up
good
nicely.
Season for George.
That ties up nicely. So there we go. So Defensive Player of the Year in fourth place with 5 votes. It's Nick Bosa.
That's fair. I think. Yeah. I don't think he had quite the impactful season, despite his pressure rate being the same.
and despite Lee making the case for him, obviously.
A very good one.
Yeah. In third place, Malik Mustafa with 9 votes.
Oh, that's pretty good for a first season.
It's not bad. Not bad. Very rare for the rookie to be on there. So it's between Demo and Fred. And in second place, it is Diomedor Lenore with 25 votes. Meaning Fred Warner, handsomely, with 51%, 40 votes, is Defensive Player of the Year. Once again, I think Fred has won that more than once before.
He has. I feel like this one is a little bit less deserved. I did feel it dipped a lot more than Demo.
I agree.
I think Demo deserved that one.
Are you saying the faithful are wrong?
No,
Well,
no,
when we get
I'm
when we
saying.
get to rookie of the year, we'll see what you're saying.
He did
about that.
play 12 games with a fractured ankle.
That's
so
true.
the faithful
That's
have acknowledged that. To
That's
be
very
fair,
true.
come on.
That's a good
Clearly,
point.
it was the case made for him on the show. Who made the case for Fred? Does anyone remember? Anyway, we should move.
Najee
We should
Karai,
move
of
that on.
course.
No, I think it was
It was me.
Yeah, it was.
Come on, Paul, keep up. Defensive Player of the Year, Fred Warner. So here we are, the one that you've all been waiting for, the one that Lee has been waiting for, at least. This is Rookie of the Year in fourth place with 3 votes. It's Renato Green.
Oh wow!
I'm shocked by that. I'm
Yeah, me
shocked
too.
that the faithful don't know football. So there we are. No reaction. No,
Can't
fair
just
enough.
call them out after you've just praised them.
Must have been some funny votes. Must have been some stuck keys, maybe, or sloppy fingers. In third position with 10 votes, it's Malik Mustafa.
What?
Bit disappointing there, Najee. What do you think?
Yeah,
10
absolutely,
votes?
absolutely
Yeah.
disappointed.
Yeah. So,
It
Lee,
can't be.
you feeling confident? It's between you and Rick. Between Pooney and Purcell.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident.
Yeah,
Pooney
well,
was by
Actually,
far the
yeah,
best
you should.
rookie.
well.
I think you should be.
Yeah, you should be. In second
Get
place,
in
Ricky
there.
Purcell. Ricky Purcell with
The
16
Pooney
votes.
shirt.
Meaning the Pooney shirt indeed got 50 votes, which was 63%. He ran away with Rookie of the Year award. So well done, Lee.
Well done.
Well
Nice.
done.
Very nice.
And our last
Well done,
award.
Lee.
Our last award. The Devondre Campbell Don't Let the Door Hit You on the Way Out award. Very close, this. Very, very close. Between a 3-way. Couple of votes going the other way, and it could have almost been a tie. But in third place, it's Ronnie Bell with 27% of the vote.
Yeah.
And in second place, it's Brian Schneider with 35% of the vote, meaning we are most pleased to see the back of defensive coordinator Nick Sorensen with 38% of the vote.
Correct
So it was
decision.
pretty
Correct.
tight between him and Mr. Schneider.
And then,
Thanks to everybody who voted. Thanks again,
Yeah.
Kev. It's great to see a bit of participation. 79 votes. Quite pleased with that on a season that I think a lot of people wanted to see the back of. So difficult to find some positives out of it, but some good player performances there, and some correct answers I think on the awards and some dubious ones. But there we are.
yeah.
Shall
Poor
we?
Malik Mustafa.
Yeah, indeed. We are.
Now, chaps, democracy. The faithful have spoken. Let's respect their wishes.
We've hit an hour, so I think we should wrap this up. Can you mention anything really that is a positive out of the season? What positive would you take, Najee?
I think the rookie game playing time more than they should have is definitely one of them. And I think the biggest one is finally turning the page on that Super Bowl run and having the time and the capacity, the mental capacity to actually put some football aside and deal with other things in life which are very important for us as human beings, as we saw this season. I think ultimately, when we look at what Trent Williams and Mooney Ward had to go through, no one cares what we did against the Seahawks, the Rams, or whatever. It's been tragedy for them. I hope they're doing better, and I hope they thrive in life. And that's all that matters. It's all about family. It's all about people. Football is just a game.
Thank you, Najee. Paul, what positive can you take?
I'm go down a different route because I don't want to just repeat stuff. From the group point of view, what I thought was positive, the interaction was there. The Discord game day thread was good. You mentioned the meetups. You asked us, pretty sure, to come up with some kind of positives. The Buccaneers game, I know Moody missed a lot of field goals, as Najee mentioned there, but to actually be at a mini meet, for want of a better word, have Jasmine there, Tracy there, and seeing the atmosphere when we actually won a last-second walk-off field goal. Purcell scoring the touchdown, the watch party in London. But the positive for me is in the 6 and 11 season, the engagement was there. People were asking when the podcast was coming out. People were watching the lives. People are already talking about the next watch party. And I think it's a testament that Lee arranged a Super Bowl meet up in Liverpool, and a lot of people turned up. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you to everybody. We do this for the community. Without you guys, it would just be 4 chaps talking on a Wednesday night to each other. So the fact that you listen, you download, and you interact in the group. So for me, that's a positive that I just wanted to mention.
Lee?
Yes, so mine is similar to Paul's, because what we've noticed is after such a dreadful season, you can forgive the fan base for being quite downbeat after the end of the season, but pretty much from the final game onwards, everybody's been focused on next season straight away. Everybody seems to have this renewed optimism, this vigour for the new season coming up. And I think it's got a lot to do with the fact that we know we're a good team. We know we have a good roster. Obviously, bringing Salah back and backing him up with Gus Bradley, wow. 2 amazing highs. And then bringing in Brant Boyer? Is that the right name? Brant? Yeah. Brant Boyer, special teams. The 2 coaching changes that we wanted, they've made, and they've knocked it out of the park with those. So straight away, we already think we're on the front foot. The fact that we already had like 50 million in cap space, I think we carried over 30 million as well. So that gave us 80 million, sorry. We'll get, I think, 2.5 to 3 million when we release Hargrave as opposed to June the 1st. If we trade Debo as opposed to June the 1st, like it's been rumoured, you get 5.5 million. So that's going to take us up to 88, 89 million. And then the cap's just gone up by 26 million. That's a lot of money we've got there.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. So everybody's got a good right to feel positive going into the off season. We've made the right moves now. Hopefully we'll continue to make those moves. Obviously, you've got some of the beat writers who have made some predictions about who we could possibly target in free agency. Drew Dalman from the Atlanta Falcons. Obviously,
next show. Don't
center.
blow all the ammo. Don't blow all the ammo.
Yeah.
Najee, he sat for over an hour and not gone down a rabbit hole.
He's done
on. You've got
well.
the thing. I mean, to bring it back, another positive, Gareth. We do have the best tight end in football, and it isn't a doubt. George Kittle, Club 85, Fred Warner. We've got the nucleus.
He'll be taking a chunk of that
team.
money. Yeah.
So, Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, if you believe the rumor. Another show. Look at that.
Yeah, it is.
Let's not go there.
It's proper silly season, isn't it? I think. Yeah, I'll wrap that up with. I think it's been good to have the break, the break of the heartbreak,
the stress
of the way that we have lost the playoff games, and to have the players not have to play those extra 3 games, not have to go through that emotional grinder. It's got to be good. I think this has brought us some breathing space. I think this is a big off season for us. We've got the coaches in place, but I think we are in an enviable position. I think getting Brock signed is obviously the big thing, but I think I said it on the last show, I think this season has been probably a good season for Brock in terms of his development. And I think that's possibly going to see us good going forward. I think it's probably going to be good for a lot of the younger members of the team as well. And I think we've just got to make sure we make the right decisions. But we are in a very good position. And I think we're in a good position out of the teams in our division, because I think we're in the best position out of the 4. So I know we didn't have the best season, but I think we've got the best outlook. Would you like to add anything else, lads? We're up to 68 minutes. So
no.
The 4
I mean, yeah, we obviously
we have to spend a long time.
My God,
yeah, we've done this. We will be back. He actually said that, which is crazy. Demonetized from YouTube straight away. Anyway, yeah, we'll be back. Free agency, draft pods and lives and stuff. So stay tuned.
So I think to what Nadji's saying, we have moved the schedule around, and we do appreciate people bearing with the fact that we do have lives, we have jobs, we have other commitments, but we will be ramping up the production. We might go back to a live and a podcast, but they will only know, Nadji, if they subscribe, they have those notifications turned on, and if you just keep listening to what we're saying.
I know we talked about talking about our year as a podcast. I completely forgot to check, but last time I checked, I think we had an up download of 25% from last year. So it's been increasing about 26% every year. So we're getting a quarter more every year, which is obviously exponential at this point. And so please keep it coming, people. Please listen to us if you like what you do. Comment, subscribe, tell everybody about it. We enjoy doing it because you guys enjoy listening to us. As Paul said, otherwise it would just be the four of us talking, especially when it's doom and gloom. I like it. We call it the therapy session for a reason. But yeah, thanks for joining us, and keep subscribing, keep going on YouTube, keep talking about it. And see you soon.
Thank you, gents. It has been a pleasure as always, but it's been good to get this show done. I've been looking forward to getting this one flushed and in the bag. Thank you to everyone who has listened to the show and listens to the show throughout the entire season. And next show, I think we're going to look ahead and look at what we need to do. And when I say we, I mean John and Kyle need to do to fix this so that we can get rid of the mess that was 2024 and get back to being a contender in 2025. Lots to look forward to, and we are well placed to bounce back from this mere little blip. The roller coaster never stops. Thanks for listening. Go Niners.
Go Niners.
Bang, bang, then again.
We love the San Francisco 49ers deep in the heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, D. Clark. Garrison Hurst, stiff farm going 99.